Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Chelsea 2, West Ham 1. It was more drama. I tweeted at half-time, probably to some negative reaction, sat in my seat because I've just got back from Stamford Bridge, my first game at Stamford Bridge because I've been working all of them so far this season, of how unfun Chelsea are. We certainly got drama and entertainment in the second half, and to be fair, all of the games at Stamford Bridge so far this season, there's been a lot of drama. And I kind of feel there is a little bit of deja vu in terms of the way I'm feeling after last week's performance, that win against Leicester, and kind of again you're looking at those character moments and kind of psychologically the boost this is going to have on the squad. But then we saw the response a couple of days later against Southampton. I think, again, I can't completely eradicate the first 60 minutes of that game. Again, there are small shoots of optimism. There are some big, shoots of optimism, in terms of some players, particularly the man behind me who's had a massive day today. There is VAR controversy as well. Unfortunately, at the time of recording, because I do need to record this video quite quick tonight, unfortunately, from what I'm hearing, the Maxwell Cornet equaliser should have been given. And I have to say, although VAR once again is an awful experience inside the ground for a match goer, it is, compared to sitting at home and some of your frustration if you're watching this and you only watch games from home, inside the ground you have no idea. You get a screenshot that popped up very quickly that I sort of missed, and it's a really blurry screenshot as well, and it's a mess. So until I see that, I'm going to go by what people who aren't biased towards Chelsea are saying, and saying that it's harsh. I will say this as kind of a general thing. Bad officiating doesn't make up for previously bad officiating, and I have no problem saying if Chelsea were lucky by that decision that it's bad officiating. And to be fair, Chelsea got very lucky today, as they did against Leicester, and that goal, we'll get to it in terms of Edouard Mendy again and some of the decision making and Chelsea's complete lack of game management so far this season. It's just staggering how we conceded so quickly after scoring a massive goal potentially in our season. We got away with one, I think, and we got away with one generally in the performance. That's not just that isolated moment, which is going to, I'm sure, spark a lot of controversy in the post-match reaction. I have no problem if it was bad call, it's bad call, because bad officiating is bad officiating. But let's talk about Chelsea. I was surprised by that lineup by Thomas Tuchel. I really was, particularly up against the type of opposition. I did say in my post-match reaction to Southampton that I thought he was going to go back to basics, and he was going to try and shut things down. He was going to try and contain space, limit transitions against a team like West Ham, who sort of sit deep, thrive off of that with direct sort of a focal point like Antonio, who was himself involved in controversy and scored a goal. It was not that much of a shock to see that team. The shock was that you had sort of a midfield three of Loftus-Cheek, Kovacic and Gallagher, so dropping Jorginho. We had Wesley Fofana starting his first game for Chelsea alongside Thiago Silva, Koulibaly, Cucurella and Reece James as the wing-backs, but then we had Raheem Sterling and Christian Pulisic as the strikers. From the moment I looked at that team, this is not in hindsight, from the moment I looked at that team, I was worried about how Chelsea were going to get the ball towards their forwards and how we were going to create chances against a physical and likely well-structured David Moyes side, who were going to come to the bridge, as they do pretty regularly, sit deep, contain space. You saw Emerson as the left back was kind of drifting into a left centre back role. Actually, at times when Chelsea had possession and they were trying to build up, he was kind of playing as a left centre back. So it was always going to be a low block. It was always going to be Chelsea trying to break that down. And that first half was starting to kind of summarise all my recent criticisms of Tuchel and his approach to Chelsea, in terms of it being too safe, in terms of it being risk-free, some of the personnel decisions just not making a lot of sense. Sterling and Pulisic, I think, could be good wingers for Chelsea, but they need someone centrally, particularly up against this opposition. how slow we were in possession, the patterns of play. Thiago Silva was getting a lot of the ball in that first half. I think CFC Central, who's a great analysis account, he's got a Substack as well. Definitely go and check out his stuff. His scouting stuff is really good. Tweeted that almost it was like a question mark Chelsea's build up in that first half, and it's not that surprising. I mean, Gallagher was in a better position. He himself wasn't making daring enough passes, unfortunately. But I also think it's just that general thing. I've watched Chelsea enough, and I've watched them in person enough. You sometimes don't get an appreciation on TV of players making runs being very frustrated. Tuchel was very animated on the touchline. And to be fair, if he's asking players to make riskier passes and they aren't, then sure, that's an individual problem. But I also do think, as I keep on coming back, I don't just think it's all on the players. I do think there is a structure thing. And I think the general analysis I was seeing from, really harsh, sort of tired feelings towards the game and Chelsea and their problems, to those who are kind of maybe starting to realise there is something structurally wrong, or at least just needs to be better in the final third, were kind of frustrated. And it didn't help that Callum Hudson-Odoi was coming off the bench in the Bundesliga for Leverkusen and creating a chance that we just didn't see in the first half. In the second half, again, I mean, I can't really think that there was much different until the changes came. When we saw Armando Broja finally come on and within seconds started to cause havoc. We started to have a direct route towards goal, someone who was going to trouble their back two, and really just putting him, it sounds very basic analysis, but just it was being a little bit more of a disruptor, and that's what Broja is. He puts himself about, he gets direct. I think Chelsea were very much able then, with Ben Chilwell coming on, with Mason Mount coming on, with Raheem Sterling drifting inwards a little bit. There were just more avenues for Chelsea to get forward and create space and create those overloads out wide that we're so good at. In the first hour, that just was not there. And I think a lot of the problem is a lack of a focal point, which is a general analysis of Chelsea. But it's not just about having a number 9 out there. I think it's also the way you play towards him, which has always been kind of a frustration. We concede the goal, and of course Antonio scoring it because many people believe he should have been given a second yellow. Seeing the incident, I could have seen it given as a second yellow. I think it was a little bit silly by Antonio. I mean, I wasn't personally calling for it at the time. I was just a little bit frustrated with Chelsea. And we concede from a set piece again. It was just an absolutely complete mess of a goal. It's a real concern, not only from the goalkeeper commanding, you always got to look at the goalkeeper when we're conceding from set piece, particularly one as big and as dominant as he has been in the past, Edouard Mendy, who would usually really command his box. And it looks bad. It's a bad looking goal. It's too passive. It's too clumsy. And again, it's a cheap goal to give away. West Ham hadn't done a lot in the game. It's not like against Southampton they were exposing us. I mean, we were set up well and I think set up specifically to disrupt and really close down any transition opportunities for them, which we did well. But it was so irritating. And then you're in that position again of dread because you're like, where is the goal going to come from? Are we scoring 2? We very rarely score 2, particularly from this type of situation. But the changes made, and I saw it was beautiful seeing from my seat directly in line Ben Chilwell's run, because it was the run he made exactly, and it's the run he's been making since he's come to Chelsea in the FA Cup final. Thiago Silva finding that crossfield ball to him. He had to readjust because it wasn't perfect for him. But the way he readjusted, the way he was able to almost be a little bit inventive with putting the ball through the legs of Fabianski, 1-1. A massive moment for Ben Chilwell, who has come back from an ACL injury, has seen Chelsea spend a lot on Marc Cucurella. There's talk how both of these players are going to play. Can he get into the World Cup squad? And he comes off the bench and he changes the game for Chelsea. He is the defining, I think, player in this game for Chelsea. He absolutely is, because of course he's involved very crucially in the second one as well. And just seeing his dynamism and all those things that have made Chilwell such a great signing for Chelsea over the last 2 or 3 years. He has, I consistently say people underrate him. They underrate him in terms of his movement. They underrate him in terms of his intelligence to when to make a run and how important he is in the way Tuchel is able to create chances in a team that does not create a lot of chances. And you saw it there, his ability to score goals, as we were seeing before his injury. So emotionally, I know he's given some quotes after the game. Emotionally, that's a massive moment in his Chelsea career. I hope it is, and I hope it's a turning point. And it's also just great. It's not going at Cucurella, who I don't think has had a lot of great games. I think he started his Chelsea career really well, but I think he hasn't had great games recently. But it's good to have those options finally where they're going to test each other, and that's a good thing. But just having, I also felt, and I've got to give credit before people have a go at me, of course, Kai Havertz scoring the winning goal in the end. Superb positioning in the box. I think there may be something in there between Broja and Havertz playing as not as a front two, because I don't think Havertz was playing as a number 9, but playing a little bit off a number 9, like Broja, who went out to the side in the build-up to the goal. He waited. He didn't play the pass first time. He waited. West Ham were very much staying in position. Laid the ball off to Ben Chilwell, who puts a brilliant ball into the middle of the box. A really good position and a great position for Kai Havertz to be in. He put his fingers to his lips, and he's been getting a lot of criticism, and for him scoring a winning goal for Chelsea is massive for him. It really is. I think it kickstarts his season, and I hope for his sake he can continue right now, because I think he had a good influence off the bench, and I think it's the same for Mason Mount, that them being dropped today hopefully gives them the kick up the backside that they need to come forward again and start proving themselves as big Chelsea players. That's a big thing, I think, for both of their careers. And I think Kai, I'm doing some research over a piece for Kai and sort of looking at how Chelsea can get the best out of him. You go back and watch him at Leverkusen, and some of his best performances wasn't coming as a 9. He wasn't playing as a focal point. He was playing kind of off the right. And he was floating once again, as he always does. I do just want to mention as well, in the mess that was this game, Wesley Fofana, his debut. I was watching him pretty closely. I think in the first half, didn't have to do that much. It was that straining. There was a few good moments. I think he had a nice physical battle with Declan Rice in the first half, who was putting himself about. I think he grew as the game went on. It's not that he was playing within himself. I think there was just a sense of being safe, being tidy with the ball. The overall energy of the game, I don't think gave him enough opportunities to really showcase his defensive quality. I think we saw more of it in the second half. There was one tackle late on in the game that got the crowd up massively, and it was a perfectly timed tackle. It was one of those that if he lost it, it could have been a transition opportunity for West Ham at a key moment in the game. And it was interesting walking out the ground. He was walking around the pitch, and Matthew Ardino was singing "Oh Wesley Fofana." So it's big for him. It would have been such a downbeat thing, his debut at Chelsea, and Dennis Zakara and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang were in the stands as well. To see these players be involved in games like this and feel very connected, and that would have been emotionally great for him, to only joining this week and then being involved in a high, intense game that means a lot, and as a group they would have very much bonded over. So for him, nice to see that connection being made. As I said, I don't think it's a performance that is it's not an outstanding performance, but I think it was a competent and good, solid first day as a Chelsea centre back. I think some more of those interesting things about him and Reece James, and I think there is potential to come. But listen, it's his this is debut as a Chelsea player, so we can expect more in the coming weeks and months. But I just wanted to touch on Fofana because it'd be silly of me not to, because of course him starting for Chelsea today was a big thing. We have to talk about, I can't end this review without talking about, of course, the incident that maybe should have given West Ham a point. Again, it's just so infuriating. You score this goal, there's this electric feeling inside Stamford Bridge. There's this release of emotion. Massive moment for Stamford Bridge, really. Particularly from the point we're in. It's against West Ham, a bit of rival. It feels amazing. You feel like, you're seeing this amazing comeback from Chelsea that we don't see that often. And then to give it away so sloppy, I think it was Fofana, wasn't it, who headed the ball back? It was either Reece or Fofana, I can't remember, on the right side. Whatever it was, I think it was a bad header to put it back towards Mendy in that position rather than trying to clear it. But then also Mendy, his hesitation, it's a sign of a keeper not in great confidence. I think a year ago, Mendy comes out and claims that, and there's no nonsense. We don't get into that situation at all. But it reminds me of some of Kepa's bad days, where you are not in the control of the situation. The situation is controlling you effectively, and that's not the way a goalkeeper is supposed to be commanding his box. And that's not what has made Mendy such a great addition. And it's a mess. And Cornet could have scored, actually. I forgot about it. He hit the post very quickly after coming off the bench as well. So before scoring the winner, West Ham had a chance of their own. And it comes back to Chelsea's lack of game management, their lack of awareness, their lack of focus in defence, and kind of the mess when things go against us. It's still a massive concern for me of the way we're judging periods in games. because no way should we be conceding that quickly. It was not a well-worked goal. It was not a piece of individual brilliance. It was a mistake. It was another mistake from the goalkeeper, and it's a good finish from Cornet, and we get away with it. And that's the thing at the moment. I have deep concerns because I'm watching this team at the moment, and I don't think any Chelsea fan can tell me we look convincing. You take the points and run, of course you do, and it lifts the mood, and it doesn't create a continuing feeling of crisis and sort of downbeat. But again, my questions are in terms of who we're starting, the way we're progressing the ball forward, how we creating chances. I mean, maybe this is the weekend where things start to click and Chilwell starts playing, and it's the Chilwell we all know and love, and Kai Havertz and Armando Broja and Mason Mount are playing together, and there's something there. But too often those moments of attacking influence or innovation, or just kind of where you start to get excited about combinations, unfortunately under Tuchel, and I've seen this a lot where I write about it and you start to think, oh, there's something there, potentially trends, and you don't see a continuation of it the next game. That needs to start happening. There seems to be such a reliance on the wing backs. Again, it's not a coincidence. The wing back has a massive hand in Chelsea winning a game of football. I mean, that's not a bad thing. If they are creating, if they are producing, that's of course happy days. But there is still such a lack of understanding of how Chelsea are gonna. It's not about being. When I say unfun, of course, I don't just want entertainment of us having 5-2, 4-3 games. I want to see good defending. But it's just a case of, I feel there is more that this team could be giving with the individual talent we have. I just don't buy that with all the players we have, there is nothing there to conjure, and they are just all a lost hope, because there's been a lot of money invested, particularly this summer. So there are moments and individuals that you can kind of look at so far this season and say that works, but it's about bringing it all together into one kind of complete performance. We may see that on Tuesday. I think for certain players today, it's a massive lift. For the group, it's a massive lift to get through another moment. I mean, we're winning games at Stamford Bridge again, which is massive for the club. But I think, again, we're kidding ourselves if we think that everything's perfect, because some of it is fortune, some of it is individual moments of quality. It's kind of just getting through these opening weeks, and results like that aren't going to be consistent enough. So let me know your opinions. Chelsea are going to be the death of me eventually. Hopefully my voice wasn't too wrecked for this review. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.